Welcome to Democrats of Greater Tucson. My name is Larry Bodine. I'm the president of Democrats of Tucson, and I'll be your host today. We have a special speaker today, Gary Harrison, who's the Pima County Clerk of Superior Court. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well.
Excellent. We do have a couple of announcements, and one is I'd like everybody on this Zoom call who is a member to please save Monday, December 7th for the Democrats of Greater Tucson annual meeting and election of officers. So it's a members only meeting. You will get a postcard in the mail with login instructions. You'll also get an email. So we're going to make sure that we reach out to every single member. And there are 11 offices open, and we highly encourage members to run if you'd like to be on the board, make a difference here in Tucson. That includes president, first vice chair, who is our program director, second vice chair is our membership director, treasurer, secretary, and 6 members at large. And if you are interested in running, please send an email to Christina Early at caearly@outlook.com. And you can also find this email. This is on the Democrats of Greater Tucson site. But if you're interested, you can save us scrambling at the meeting by letting us know in advance if you are interested. Now I want to turn it over to Joshua Polachek, Executive Director of the Pima County Democratic Party, who's got some information and announcements to share about the Georgia runoff election. Joshua.
Good midday, everyone. I first want to say thank you to everyone for the incredible work this season here in Arizona. Pima County delivered the state to Joe Biden and Prop 208 and Mark Kelly. 207 probably would have passed with or without Pima County, and we were neutral on that. But the amazing work that we've done over the last decade, of which I am lucky to just be able to take a small amount of credit for, it really has been transformative and has been noticed around the country. And I would really love, as part of the small legacy that I'm going to have on the Democratic Party and democracy in Southern Arizona, I would love to bring that similar energy to the Senate runoff in Georgia. So not to make any assumptions about how people have been following the news, but Georgia requires for statewide positions that people cross the 50% threshold. If not, there is a runoff. Both U.S. Senate seats are currently going to a runoff. That runoff will take place on January 5th. And we have Senator David Perdue versus John Ossoff, and we have appointed Senator Kelly Loeffler, who currently has COVID, against Reverend Raphael Warnock, who happens to also be the Reverend at Martin Luther King's Jr.'s church. So I'm here to lay out ways that we can help. The voting registration deadline is, I don't think I sent you the georgia.gov, but it's December 5th. So we're working aggressively right now on phone banking to get 2 things, which should be very familiar to anyone working in Arizona. We're working to get people, this one. Get people registered to vote and to get people signed up for an absentee ballot. So right now, there's a huge effort being put into reaching the voters who have already. You have to sign up for another absentee ballot. You don't get the same one that you. They don't have a Pebble system, unfortunately. Oh, sorry, December 7th. And so we're working very aggressively to reach out to our voters from November 3rd and get them signed up to either get an absentee ballot or to sign up for vote by mail, or to get them aware that early voting begins on December 14th. This election is going to be 100% a turnout election. There will be little to no persuadable voters in this electorate in Georgia. It's a very, very polarized electorate. You had almost 3/4 of white people in Georgia voting for Joe Biden and the two Senate candidates, or a Democrat for the two Senate races. And you had almost 80 to 85% of everybody else voting for Joe Biden. So it's a really, really divided electorate, very polarized, pretty similar to what we have here in Arizona. And what's not gotten a ton of press is that the broader Hispanic community, which in Georgia is majority Mexican American, though with a broad and very diverse spectrum of people from Central America who came as refugees both in the 80s and who have come as refugees in the 21st century. So there's a huge effort that needs to be done to get people registered, to get people signed up for absentee, to get people aware that early voting is starting. And so under Stacey Abrams' Fair Fight organization, there's a wide variety of things that you can do. I'm encouraging everyone to go to the link we have there, fairfight.com/joinourfight. And if you sign up there, you'll get basically daily opportunities to phone bank, to text bank, to send in postcards and other writing to encourage people to vote. All of these activities we know have a positive influence on voter behavior. If you have a specialized skill set such as social media or data analysis, you can also include that when you sign up for the Join Our Fight. I'm encouraging everyone to go to the Raphael Warnock Act Blue page. And I assume, Larry, you're going to be sending out all these links after the meeting, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So to sign up for Raphael Warnock, we're encouraging everyone to give $20.21. And hopefully, if you can, to make that a regular contribution, either a monthly one or a weekly one for the election that does take place in 2021. And John Ossoff's Act Blue page. And then if we go to the Mobilize page, there are tons and tons of opportunities. Please, please, if you speak Spanish or if you know people that speak Spanish, please encourage them to take a half an hour or an hour shift on this phone bank. It happens on a very regular basis. There's phone and text banking opportunities that happen basically every other day. The weekend of action is in 2 weeks. That's the huge push right before the registration deadline to get people registered. There will be tens of thousands of young people who will have turned 18 between November 4th and January 4th that we want to get registered to vote. As we saw in Arizona, these elections come down to a few thousands of people and turning out those people. Georgia is a similarly sized, it's a little bigger than Arizona, but not that much bigger, and its election was almost as close as our election. So every little effort that you can make will help change the tide. And need I say, the difference between Vice President Harris being the tiebreaker for Senate Majority Leader Schumer versus a 52-48 or a 51-49 Senate with Majority Leader, I won't even say his name, may he no longer be named, will have a huge difference on whether or not the agenda that we have fought for, with at the local level, at our congressional levels, Rahul Grijalva, Ann Kirkpatrick, and Tom O'Halloran, with sending the first all-Democratic Arizona Senate delegation since the Depression to Washington. That difference is night and day. Whether or not we see the cabinet that President-elect Biden wants to see, or whether we see Mitch McConnell put his thumb on the scale for the sort of cabinet secretaries that we need to see to get us out of this mess. So please, I'm going to be putting in somewhere between 20 and 30 hours. Please don't tell the board that. I might be spending some work time making phone calls. This is and doing some text banking. This is critical. I can't stress that enough. Please send your time and your money to this fight. We can make a difference. Arizona showed how it's done, and let's help our brethren in Georgia do the same thing. So with that, thank you very much. I think I said 5 minutes. I used 7. I'm so sorry, Larry, but please join the fight.
Oh, no, that's quite all right. This is an important issue. Barbara has her hand up. Go ahead, Barbara. What's on your mind?
Just wanted to ask you, Joshua, real quickly. I'm writing 50 postcards to Georgia. They say not to mail them till sometime mid-December. Can you tell me why we have to wait, or why we can't just mail them now?
Right. So we're looking to influence. You probably want to mail them around the 10th of December so that they hit when the early voting opens in Georgia on December 14th. We really want that material to get into the voters' mind, because remember, this is a almost 100% turnout election. We expect persuasion to affect maybe a few tens of thousands of people. The persuasion that we're doing right now is either persuading our people to show up or persuading their folks to stay home. And so your postcards, if they show up that week of December 14th, will have the highest impact on getting somebody to the vote to the polls as an early voter. Does that make sense?
Why not earlier to get them to plan ahead?
The studies have shown that that when people get them the mailer, especially for these really odd elections, when they get that mailer and they can actually action it that week, it makes more of an impact on voter behavior than if they get it earlier and something happens. Especially because we've got Thanksgiving and other things going on. This is a very difficult time to get voter attention.
Okay, thank you very much.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you for doing your part.
Yep.
You had a question for Joshua.
Yeah, where do we get the postcards?
So there's a variety of different ways. If you sign up for Fair Fight on that link, which Larry's going to send out after this meeting, one of the options is you can ask to write postcards. One of the things that you can do if you want to, for example, get the LD3 postcards that say VOTA. I wish I had an example. I'm working from home today. I have an example in the office, but we can also figure out if there's a critical mass of people that want to send the really beautiful VOTA postcards. We can do a printing at the glue factory and figure out how to pay for it. So if there's a critical mass, please let Larry know, and I can help arrange that to get the physical postcards. To get the voter list, we need people to sign up for Fair Fight and for the individual campaigns. That's how we get the mailing list.
Thank
Larry, this is Amy Graves, and I would help with the VOTA postcards as well.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, to quote my favorite coach, onward to Atlanta. Yes, we're going to take this down. If you saw the map, the county that Newt Gingrich, may his political career rest in infamy, that he turned into a Republican stronghold, turned blue this cycle, at both for the presidential and both Senate special elections. And so if we can make that margin go from a 51-49 margin to a 52-48 margin, we can take this. We can take those seats down. And so we have a chance to help out. The eyes of the nation are on Georgia for the next 2 months, and let's show, or I guess the next 6 weeks. Let's show what Pima County can do and Greater Tucson can do to help deliver a Democratic Senate to President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris. And with that, thank you.
All right, kudos and bravo. Thanks so much, Joshua Polachek. Well, let's bring it back from Georgia to right here into Tucson. And I would like to introduce our speaker Gary Harrison, who has been the Pima County Clerk of the Superior Court for 34 years. With 200 employees, the Office of the Clerk of the Superior Court provides streamlined court-related services to the judicial system and to the public. And as Gary is going to describe, there are some big changes coming to the office. Gary was re-elected as the Pima County Clerk of Superior Court in 2018. This is an office that takes in 92,000 documents a year from various courts that focus on domestic, criminal, probate, and civil matters. Gary attended the U of A on a basketball scholarship in the 70s under Coach Fred Snowden. And he's had a distinguished career. So I want to turn it over to you, Gary. Tell us what's coming up in the clerk's office.
Everything. So let me start off by saying thank you all for having me here today. I really appreciate it. I thank you all for all of the hard work that you always put in. I got to admit, until I ran for this office, I wasn't so politically inclined. But over time, I've learned so much. If Trump has done anything for me, he has made me become more aware of the political side of life and how it affects all of us. So thank you for having me. Let me make one correction. I'm working for the Clerk of Superior Court. When I ran for the office, I decided I retired first, and then I decided to run because I felt, after working for 3 previous clerks, I felt that there was things that could be handled better. And that's from a employee side of the fence. Another correction is that we handle 92,000 documents a month in the clerk's office, not a year. And so 92,000 documents, a document can be from 1 page to 100 pages. So that's quite a bit of paper that comes in. As Larry said before, I first arrived in Tucson in 1973 on a basketball scholarship. My intentions was to play and then go back to Detroit. I had no intentions of staying in Tucson. It was hot. It was totally different than growing up in the city. I still love the city, but now that I've been in Tucson so long, you couldn't make me go back to that city. There's no way I'd go back and live in the city, live in the cold. I couldn't do any of that. And so when people ask me, where am I from now? I tell them Tucson, Arizona is where I'm from, because the majority of my life now has been spent here in Tucson. So with that being said, I come from a small town. It's called Ypsilanti, Michigan. Ypsilanti and Ann Arbor, Michigan are joined together. There's one main street that separate the two. Again, coming here on a basketball scholarship, I never had any idea that my life would take the turns that it has taken. And I've got to admit that I have had a blessed, charmed life. My life has been almost indescribable. I am the first African-American elected official in Pima County. I played for the first African-American Division I basketball coach. The University of Arizona has that distinction in terms of breaking that barrier and hiring African-American coaches. Arizona hired the first African-American Division I basketball coach. So I've been the first, or at least a part of the first, in many different ways. The clerk's office, which I have worked for 34 years now, including the last 2 years, it became a part of me. I had no intentions of I don't think of staying at the clerk's office, but you know how things can kind of direct you without you even planning it. And that's what kind of happened with me. I hadn't planned on being the clerk, much less a long-time employee. The clerk's office is responsible for the most part, in keeping the courts running smooth. The record means everything, and the clerk is primary function is the keeper of the record. And so the great part about this, though, the great thing about this office is it is a nonpartisan office in that you serve everyone, and that part I really enjoy. There is no Republican, Democrat, Independent. It's just serving the public, the legal community, and many outside communities that require our services. We have a little less than 200 employees now. And when I started here several years ago, we had over 225 employees. Now that number has been reduced, and it seems to be getting smaller and smaller, and the work is getting heavier and heavier. And so we are always looking for ways to continue our service, but we're doing it with a lot less people. So right in the nick of time, and unfortunately, COVID has put us in the position where we have had to speed up some of the things that we wanted to do in order to serve or continue to serve in the manner that we are accustomed to here. And I will say this, in this state, I think that here in this clerk's office, that we do it probably better than anybody else. I can speak, and I know I'm biased here, but I can speak for the employees that I work with, and I like to say that I work with. I have a hard time using that phrase, the boss or the head. I work with all the employees that are here, and I really enjoy it. We have some of the best people in Pima County working for the clerk's office. And the reason I say that is because I spend a lot of time speaking with employees and hearing their issues. And most of the time, I got to admit, most of them are personal. But if I can help to ease someone's day, then they're going to do a better job when it comes to serving the community and the public. They do a really, really good job here. Everybody is really conscientious of what they do, and that is strictly credit to them, and which makes my job so much easier. I tell everybody that I'm just here to help people through their day, and I think that if we all take that kind of approach, then we can do a really good job for everybody involved. Right now, we're in the process of making the court more accessible to everyone. And the way that we're doing that, certainly like everything else, just like what we're doing right here, this Zoom meeting, it allows us to come together in a large way, much like a large email that you send out. Or so what we have going now is we're now trying to make it where you can do everything from your seat, where you're sitting right now. We are now in the process of installing or creating electronic filing in every case type. There are several different case types. when you talk about civil litigation, when you talk about probate, criminal, domestic, there are several different case types that you can actually file a petition or a complaint. Right now, the only way to file a civil case is electronically. You can't come down and bring a physical paper complaint and file it over the counter here. It has to be done electronically. And so that has been in place for about the last 5 or 6 years. And with intentions of making every case type an electronic file. So the next one that we put in place was domestic violence. We are now taking domestic violence complaints electronically, even though you still can come down and file that physically. But in the future, and I'm sure after COVID, we will probably be doing those mainly electronically, and it'll allow people to not even leave their house and file that type of complaint. Right now, what we're doing and the next one to take place is criminal. Criminal e-filing is mainly done through, or even post-filing is subsequent filing is done by the county attorney and the public defender. That's where the majority of the paper comes from. So doing criminal e-filing is a lot simpler because we have more control over those documents being filed, since those are county entities that are filing those. It takes up, when you talk about criminal takes up 48% of those 92,000 documents a month. So that's a large amount of paper that are coming in. At this point right now with criminal, we're just doing subsequent filing. We're not doing case initiation. So hopefully you guys can kind of follow where we're headed right now. What we're headed to is a completely paperless society here. And with that being said, when you remove all of that paper, that also kind of remove the processes of that paperwork. And so now you have, probably close to 150 employees that move most of that paper. Now they have to be repurposed, and so that we don't have to lay people off, so that we can manage that paper or that paperless society and still provide a good service for the public. So the intention is to now, take those employees, repurpose what they do, also change their job descriptions in terms of what they are going to be repurposed for, and change it to where they now can provide a better service. And what I mean by that is they will now start analyzing every document that comes in. That is a huge task. But what it will do is allow us to provide a more thorough service for the filer and for people who are looking for information. So that's really important to me, to be able to change those job descriptions and also change how the employees are viewed here. In the past, I think that we were mainly viewed as, paper pushers, as they like to say, when actuality, the job entailed a lot more than just pushing paper. Now in analyzing every document, I see us as being, data analysts. And because of having to go through every document, make sure everything is in the system correctly, and then also provide feedback for the filer. That is that, like I said, that's going to be a huge job. The job, as far as creating that job, we haven't quite got it, figured out in terms of what all is going to entail. But just the initial part of what we're looking at doing is going to be a really overwhelming job. So, like everybody else, we have been practicing staying safe. The court by statute is not allowed to close. We're open every day. We've been open every day since the pandemic hit. We have done a really, really good job in that we've not had huge outbreaks of the virus here. We really adhere to the CDC guidelines. There are hand sanitizers all over the building. We are now setting up stations where you can have your temperature taken just by walking in front of a camera, and it'll take your temperature. Those will be all over the building. We wear masks everywhere we go, except in your office, like where I am now. And so far, we have been pretty good. Now, we have had a few cases, but we have contact traced those cases where we have been able to remove people right away as soon as we find out. I have my IT director right now has an exposure, and so he's being quarantined right now. I fully expect him to not contract the virus. He was part of the study for the vaccine, and he feels like he was one of the ones who received the actual vaccine. So there's been a lot going on this past year, more than I can remember. I must say that I think that I was chosen for this time, and it has worked very well for me. And again, all of the credit goes to most of the employees. So with that, if you guys have any questions, I'm open for any questions.
Thank you very much, Gary. Really interesting. Everybody is encouraged to ask a question. You can either ask it in the chat and I will be happy to type it, or you just go into participants down at the bottom of your screen and you raise your blue hand, as Lillian Fox has done. So Lillian, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask Gary a question.
Okay. I'm impressed with your efforts to make the department, your people more efficient and to provide more automated process and electronics. I think that's really good. But I wonder, when you make these things all online, how many people are not going to be able to participate as a result? In TUSD, they had to buy an incredible number of computers to supply them to children who don't have them in their homes. The city of Tucson did a study, and there are large parts of Tucson where not very many people at all have access to electronic, the internet and the web. And so I'm wondering, what are you doing to provide for these people who would be mostly low income and probably have limited access anyway? What are you going to put in place to help them?
That is probably a bigger concern of mine than providing electronic filing for everyone. The way that I look at it is there's always a manual way to do what you are doing electronically now. We are going to make sure that we're able to provide for those who, like you say, can't do it electronically. We will, at this point, it hasn't been totally designed yet, but we will have a department that will allow people to continue to do it in a paper fashion, but we will provide ways for it to be inputted in an electronic fashion. And what I mean by that is, like for right now, if you are doing a domestic violence and you don't have a phone or a computer, you can still come down. We have now set up an area in the law library, and with people to assist people who can't or don't know how to input, can't type, can't read English. We have a department where we can make sure that anyone who is filing that is having a struggle of whether it be electronic or even getting down here, we have a department that is going to be able to assist those that will still be able to get their filings in.
Thank you very much. Good.
I've got a question for you, sort of from the other end of the perspective. For all the people who like to get information online, such as myself, what kind of documents can I get online, and what do I need to come into the office to take a look at?
Yeah, that's one that if I could push that button and make it happen today, I would make that happen today, because the more people that can do it from home, the less people we have to service here with a smaller staff. The AOC, the Administrator of Courts, the Supreme Court, they're the ones who are going to make that final decision on what will be available online. And of course, my opinion, I think that part of the holdback is how can they make a profit from this? And when I say profit, how can they? It's not necessarily a profit. It is more, how can they have revenue come in for this so that they can pay for the service. So eventually, I know that the ALC is going to get to a point where where that information will be accessible. There are certain things that I'll give you, for instance, that has to be thought about. Right now, everything here is public record, and you can view any file here. The problem with having public record at your fingertips is that you now can look up information on your next door neighbor, and that they look at as possibly creating more problems. And so that's their dilemma right now. I really think that's the biggest dilemma, is how do we now provide this information at your fingertips without it, escalating into, neighbor wars and that kind of thing. And you think that wouldn't be an issue, but it is, because we have dealt with cases here where neighbors have had disputes. You come in, pull information on your neighbor, and then we'll have that neighbor come in and say, how did they get this information? Not knowing that this information is public record. So hopefully that answers your question. I do feel that one day there will be, even if limited, there will be more information provided. Again, once we put into place data analysts, maybe that will help provide some of the things that we can put in place to limit the type of information that's going to be provided.
All right, we have a question from Sandy Sauls. Please, you're already unmuted. Go right ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Gary. Is your office involved in any way in case scheduling, trial scheduling?
No, that is handled by the Superior Court. The Superior Court has case management that schedule those trials and those hearings. And so mainly what we do is well, everything that we do, we put out the minute entry. For instance, if there is a hearing that is set, then that minute entry that is created by the courtroom clerk would be the information that will be sent to you to let you know when your hearing or your trial is coming up.
Susie Anderson, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask Gary a question.
Thank you, Larry. Gary, since you have this ability to help people in a domestic violence issue file their grievance at the library, how do you give that information at the time the police are there investigating what's going on? How do you get the information to the victim? Do the police have this information? Is there a way, or victim witness, or, somebody there who can give them this information and help them get to where they can make their filing, especially in the poor neighborhoods where they may not have transportation, things like that to make it at least available to them?
That's a very good question. As of this morning, I have been in touch with a victims advocate group that is being developed by the courts and by the clerk's office to do that very thing, to be able to assist those who are in need in various ways. It's really tough because we will have individuals who will come in and before what we're working on now, before we get this into place, what we've done in the past is we basically just kind of eyeballed people when they come in, and you just kind of look at them and see who's in distress and you point them in a certain direction. Well, part of everything that we do, because when you come to the court period, it's a stressful situation. Even if you're coming for a passport or a marriage license, it's a stressful situation. So we've been looking at, between the courts and the clerk's office, how can we better assist those who are having trouble with the system itself. We're constantly looking for ways to simplify this whole thing so that when people come in, it is a little less stressful. So to answer your question, and from a victims advocate standpoint, we are now putting something in place that's called the victims advocate group is called Emerge, and we're in the process right now of working with Emerge so that we can better assist those who are having trouble with the system.
Gary, tell me about how you're going to have to retrain your staff. You were telling me that you're basically taking people from filing clerks and turning them into data analysts.
Well, I thought you could help me with that, Larry. That is a work in process. I tell you, I'm really depending on the employees. They do the job. So they are constantly submitting ideas for making this transition. The kind of unnerving thing about it is it's approaching really, really fast. We just started this whole process, or we were told that we were headed this way just a couple of months ago. Just fortunately, my IT department, which is really a top-notch group of individuals, they were ahead of this thing. And so now what we're doing is sitting almost daily, looking at how we are going to develop these positions. What we started with is how can we be a better service to everyone, and then we're building from there. It's kind of amazing some of the things that have come out of this that we are going to be looking to do. Some of the very questions like the one that Susie answered, you know, how do you now service people who, you know, are less fortunate or less capable? Well, those are some of the things that we're looking to implement here. You know, we'll be able to repurpose people, and it's going to take a large group of people to be able to handle that kind of questioning and that kind of assistance. So right now we are developing many different things to, you know, to make this change happen. And I'm feeling pretty confident about what we're going to be able to do. The big thing is I don't want us to get to a place where people have to be laid off, that kind of thing. At this point right now, I see it as even more work, but I think that we're going to be able to handle it more efficiently when the e-filing takes place.
We have a question from Paul Stapleton Smith, our Pima Area Labor Federation representative. Paul, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Gary. It's so good to see you. We were so excited to work on your campaign at the AFL-CIO. And this is a two-part question. How can we get busy helping get you reelected? Because you're amazing. The second part of the question, my friend, is how can we out here and with our community partners and our unions, how can we help you do your job better? I understand that you have challenges, but realistically, what could we do for you that would give you some great support and perhaps some relief in this horrific pandemic and the conditions that you have to work under?
You know, I think the biggest thing that we're going to be facing with all the new changes is education, in terms of getting people the information out there that says, here is what you do, where you go in order to accomplish any you know, court proceeding or court service that we provide. Here's how you go about doing that. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. We put in domestic violence filing here probably about 3 months ago. It has reduced the amount of people filing in person by about half. And that says to me that either they can't do it or they're not aware that they can do it, you know, from home. They can do it on their smartphone. That's the other thing. You don't have to have a computer set up to do this. The way that those apps are set up, they're probably just as easy, if not easier, to do it from your smartphone. And so all of the apps that we're looking to set up to assist people, they will be set up in such a manner that says, if you don't have a computer or you're not computer literate, you'll be able to do it from your smartphone. So that's one part of the question. As far as me running again, I'm gonna leave that up to Herschella. If people don't know, Herschella was very instrumental in getting me to run, because she told me I was going to have a really tough time at running this office, and she didn't bite her lip one time in terms of telling me get ready to go to work. Now on the other side of that, she was also one of the biggest encouragers for me. She pushed me in this direction. I'm glad that she did. I can say that even when I'm done here, I'm going to be fully engaged from this point forward in the Democratic Party and their efforts to make things better. I believe in a two-party system. I just think that I'll start here. Whenever, I approach or I'm approached by someone, the first thing they'll say is, "Are you a Democrat or are you a Republican?" I say, "Well, listen, I get a lot of that." And so I say, "Well, listen, I'm a Democrat, lifelong." And then the first thing they say is, "Oh, you're a liberal." And so my response is always to them, "What do you think a liberal is?" I always ask them, "What do you think a liberal is?" And I say, "What does liberal mean to you?" And they're always stuck. And I always say, to me, liberal means giving and supporting and helping. Most of the responses that I get after I say that is, this kind of blank look. And so my last response is, why is liberal bad? And so no one can never answer that for me though. Why is giving liberally bad? And the other side of it is, that is our money that we're talking about. If I choose to help other people with my money, why is that bad? And so as far as running again, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to, and I'm looking forward to it. The way that this job has happened most of the time, the way that in terms of running against me, I kind of think that I probably won't have a challenger. But if I do, I'll be ready to go. To be honest, all of you guys made running really easy. I really enjoyed campaigning. It wasn't stressful for me at all. So I'll be prepared to go when that time comes.
Again, we're just very grateful. You ran a great race, and we're just so thrilled that you're serving. And thank you, Gary. And thank you, everybody here, as he said, that helped get him elected. It was a brilliant, brilliant opportunity. Thank you.
I sure appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
We have one last question from Herschella Horton. I just looked you up. She's the former, she was in the Arizona House for 10 years, and she was the Arizona Democratic Whip. Herschella, go ask your question.
Yes, and I was the assistant Democratic leader. My question is for Gary. With all of the challenges and that you've had and all the things that you're putting in place, I congratulate you on all that. My question is, and what has been the most personally rewarding as far as the job goes?
No, that's an easy one. All of the people that I get to meet and that I get to speak to and that I get to see. George Khalil of Khalil Bowling Company, rest his soul, he just passed here about a year ago. But George Khalil was a really good friend of mine, and he was really instrumental in me seeing where I can help. George Khalil helped this community in a large way, and people will never know about it because that just wasn't him. He never put it out there that he was doing all of the things that he did. But when I was a young guy, 18 years old, he used to tell me, because I was really one who didn't talk to people very much. Now you can't shut me up. But he used to tell me that there is nothing else but people. That's all that really matters. Nothing else matters except people. And so he expressed to me that I needed to put myself out there and allow people to use me, when they needed me. And so I would say that the biggest thing that I get out of being here for 34 years is that I have met so many people, and I'm getting pretty good at remembering them. It took me 30 years to start remembering everyone, but I'm getting pretty good at that. So I would say that that's been the biggest joy for me, is being able to assist people. And
Yes.
I got a text message with Sandy's question. Does your office ever foresee routinely redacting personally identifying information, such as social security number and dates of birth from documents?
That's a tough question. That would be one of the services that we would be better equipped to manage. Once we get all of these things in place, it's still one of those situations or processes that would be that the judge would have to determine. When it comes to redacting information out of something that has been filed, the clerk's office has no power or authority to be able to do that. That will require a judge's order for us to redact, because even right now, we redact information, but it's only upon receiving an order from a judge to do so. So that would require some collaboration, certainly, and maybe some rule changes. I don't know. But if those rule changes are put into effect, then it will require a collaboration from the clerks and from the clerk's office and the Superior Court or the bench, in order to maybe put something out there that says, if you have information redacted, here's a form that you fill out, and you would have to go through and research your file and tell us what you would want redacted. That's just thinking off the top of my head.
Well, Gary, we're out of time, and we really appreciate everything you had to tell us today. There's really a lot more going on in your office than anybody could have possibly imagined, with 92,000 new documents, some being 100 pages long every month. That's pretty amazing. Why don't you give us a closing remark and take us out of the meeting?
Well, I'll say this. It's been a pleasure to be here today. Hopefully, I will be more visible in the future some kind of way. If you are ever in any need of anything here, or services or questions and that you need answers to, feel free to reach out to me. I get hundreds of calls probably a week, and to add a few hundred more is not a problem for me. So go ahead and look me up, introduce yourself, let me know who you are, and I will certainly, if I don't have the answer, I'll find an answer for you. So with that being said, again, thank you for having me today, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks
All
for
right.
being here.
Thanks for being here. So we're going to end the meeting. Thank you very much. Wishing everybody have a good day.
Same to you all.
Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah. We'll see you next Monday at noon.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Good job, Gary. Good job.
Thank you.